everyone, my name is Debbie Jones-Snyders and I'm from the Hopedale Presbyterian Church. I'm delighted to welcome children and families to our church school lessons and crafts. We have two stories today and they sort of go together. And the first is Samuel anoints David to be king, and the second is David and Goliath. These are adapted from Mission Bible Class with images by Sweet Publishing and licensed by Free Bible Images. We have 3 coloring pictures and 2 crafts. One is Chosen by God Ribbon Award, and the other is David's Bag of Stones, and then a variety of other activities for you to enjoy. So our first story is about Samuel anoints David to be king. So the message here is that some things don't look special on the outside, but they are best on, some things don't look special on the outside, but they are the best on the inside. So people are like that too. God does not decide what we are like just because of the way we look. He judges us by what is inside us, what is in our hearts. And that's why the stories about David, one of the reasons why the stories about David are very important. So the first story, Samuel anoints David to be king. Samuel was a priest, a judge, and a prophet in ancient Israel. Samuel was very sad. Saul was the king of Israel, and Saul was not obeying God. Samuel, the priest, knew that Saul was not a good king. It made Samuel sad to see Saul disobey God. God said to Samuel, "Saul does not want to obey me. I have chosen a new king, and I want you to anoint him. He lives in the town of Bethlehem, and he is the son of a man named Jesse. Get an empty horn that has been cut from a cow. Fill the horn with oil and go to Bethlehem." Samuel was afraid. King Saul would be very angry if he heard that Samuel was anointing a new king. What if he got mad at him and tried to kill him? The Lord told Samuel not to be afraid. He told Samuel to take a special sacrifice at Bethlehem, and everyone would just think he was making a normal trip. This sounded like a good idea to Samuel, so he took his sacrifice and he traveled to Bethlehem. No one knew that Samuel was going to anoint a new king. When Samuel arrived in Bethlehem, he told everyone that he would be making a special sacrifice to the Lord. He invited Jesse and his sons to come. Before they came, Jesse and his sons washed and got dressed up. All of the sons wanted to look their best. When Samuel saw Jesse's sons, he was very happy. They were fine-looking men. Jesse's oldest son, Eliab, was very tall and handsome. Samuel thought that Eliab would be a good king. But the Lord told Samuel, "This is not the one I want to be king. He is handsome and tall, but the Lord does not look at the things that a man looks at. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." So if Eliab was not to be the king, then which of Jesse's sons would be the next king of Israel? Jesse told his next son to come forward and stand in front of Samuel. His name was Abinadab. Maybe Abinadab would be the next king. "No," said Samuel, "the Lord has not chosen Abinadab." One by one, all of Jesse's sons stood before Samuel. The Lord had not chosen any of them to be the new king of Israel. Samuel did not understand. The Lord had told him that one of Jesse's sons would be the new king. "Jesse, are these all of your sons?" asked Samuel. Jesse answered, "These are my 7 oldest sons. I do have one more son. He is my youngest son, and he is out in the pastures taking care of my sheep. His name is David." Samuel was surprised. Could God want a young shepherd to be the next king of Israel? Samuel told Jesse to send someone to get David. When David arrived, Samuel saw that he was healthy and handsome. But that was not all. The Lord told Samuel that this was the new king. And the Lord does not look just at the outside of a person. He looks at a person's heart. The Lord knew that David had a good heart. "Arise and anoint him," the Lord said to Samuel. "He is the one." Samuel anointed David. He took the horn full of oil and he poured some on David's head. And from this day on, the Spirit of God came upon David. David loved God for the rest of his life. Even though David was chosen as the new king, it was not time yet for him to take King Saul's place. David went back to tending his father's sheep. And when the right time came for David to reign as the new king, then the Lord would tell him. God sees what's in our hearts, and what's in our hearts is more important than what's on our outside. Our next story is about David and Goliath. Even though God had chosen David to be the next king, people did not know about him yet. David knew that the Lord would tell him when it was the right time to be king. For now, Saul was still the king of Israel. Saul led his army to battle against their enemies, the Philistines. The Philistines did not believe in God, and they did not like God's people. The Philistines wanted to kill the Israelites. King Saul's army made their camp on one hill, and the Philistine army made their camp on the other hill. There was a valley in between them. Every morning and every evening, a huge Philistine, or a giant named Goliath, would come into the valley and yell to the Israelites. "The Philistines are better than the Israelites," Goliath would shout. "Choose a man and have him come down and fight me. If he can kill me, then we will become your slaves. If I kill him, then the Israelites must become slaves to the Philistines." Goliath did this every day for 40 days. The Israelites were very frightened, and no one wanted to fight the giant man. He was over 9 feet tall, and he had a bronze helmet and bronze armor. He had a huge spear, and he even had a servant who walked in front of him carrying a shield. David was not in Saul's army. He still stayed out in his father's pastures taking care of sheep. David's 3 oldest brothers did fight with Saul, though. Their father, Jesse, would often send David to take food and supplies to the 3 brothers. This time, when David arrived at the army's camp with supplies, he was very surprised at what he saw. He arrived just in time to see Goliath come out and make his challenge. David could not believe that anyone would talk about God in such a bad way. David knew that God was stronger than Goliath. God is stronger than anyone. David heard some of the soldiers say that whoever was brave enough to fight Goliath would win many prizes from King Saul. His father would never have to pay taxes to the king. The king would let the winner marry his daughter and would give him great wealth. When David started asking the soldiers about Goliath, his brothers overheard him and became angry. "Why don't you just go back to watching the sheep?" they said. "Let us fight the battles." But David had an idea. David went to King Saul and told him that he wanted to fight Goliath. David told the king how the Lord had always helped him. When a bear had carried off one of his father's sheep, David had chased it and hit it. The bear died. The Lord also had given him the strength to fight lions when they tried to kill the sheep. I know I am not a soldier, but I know that God will help me fight the giant. I trust in God, and God is stronger than any bears, lions, giants, or spears, he said. King Saul listened to what David said. Saul believed David when he said he trusted in God. King Saul told David that he could fight Goliath. He even gave David his own armor and sword. But when David tried them on and tried walking around him, he knew that he could not wear the king's armor. He had never been trained to use them, and they only made it hard for him to walk. David decided to fight Goliath using only his sling. David went down to a stream and collected 5 smooth stones. And with a sling, stones, and trust in the Lord, David was ready to face the enemy. When Goliath saw David, he started making fun of him. He also started making fun of God. He told David that he would kill him and feed him to the birds. David still trusted in the Lord. He told Goliath, "You come against me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. Today I will kill you, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel." As Goliath moved closer to attack David, David ran toward him quickly and put one of the stones in his sling. He swung the sling around and round, and he released the stone straight at Goliath's forehead. The stone hit Goliath, and he fell to the ground. David killed Goliath with Goliath's own sword. When the Philistines saw that a boy had killed Goliath, their hero, they all began to run away. The army of Israel won the battle. They won because David trusted in the Lord. We should all trust in the Lord. So we have a number of activities for you depending on your interest, age level, and ability. You will need to print the templates. There are 3 coloring pictures. There are 2 crafts. One is Chosen by God award, and the other is David's stone pouch. So, in order to do the Chosen by God award, you will need to print the templates. You will need construction paper, glue, scissors, and a marker or a Sharpie so that you can write with it, and a safety pin so you can pin the award on. So, here is the template for the awards. So once you've printed these, you can use them as patterns, cut them out, and then cut the construction paper out in these different shapes. And then, once you've cut them out, I chose red for the biggest part. Glue the yellow circle on the bigger award section, and then also glue the ribbons, the construction paper ribbons, to the back of the award. Get your safety pin and you can pin it on your Chosen by God. The second craft is David's stone pouch. So you will need construction paper, the template. You can use the template if you like. You will need scissors and yarn, glue, and a Sharpie if you want to write up right at the top. The battle is the Lord's. So you can cut out the construction paper and glue it, the template. You can cut out the template and glue it on the construction paper, or you can draw your own pouch right on the construction paper, whatever you like. Cut out different colored stones from construction paper and glue them on the pouch. Cut out 2 pieces of yarn and glue them at the top of the pouch where the drawstrings would be, and write "The battle is the Lord's" at the top of the pouch if you did not use the template. So we have other activities for you as well, and they include sticking together, a maze, word searches, a secret message, a crossword, a coded activity, and an anagram. This week, remember, God sees what's in our hearts. What's on our inside is far more important than what's on our outside or how we look. David was a young boy who loved and trusted the Lord. The army of the Israelites won because David trusted the Lord. Let's all trust in the Lord. Have a great week.